Hi, it's Belinda here from Coffee with Belinda Downs. I've got my coffee and you're here, so let's get started. Uh, I'm inside today. I'm still recovering from the marking, like all markers. Still pretty tired. I have with me an article. I'll just pull it down here. I found the best article, and I thought it'd be a great idea to just spend a bit of time going through it, because there's some pretty interesting stuff here. It's unusual for a video on my YouTube channel and even on my Facebook page, but this is actually how I teach. I teach face-to-face classes in session, but I also teach online in session. I use different software, but I'm very used to doing this. So yeah, should be fun, I think. Okay, so I've got an article. It's clickbaity kind of stuff. 12 lesser known linguistic facts. Now, we're not going to go through all 12 because some of them were okay. That is kind of interesting. Like the Basque language is a language isolate between France and Spain, and that's true. It doesn't have any known relationships in that area of Europe. So yeah, Basque is an isolated language. Great. So I've taken those sort of things out. So here's some more interesting ones. Not that that's not interesting, but we can have a bit of fun with these ones. Okay, first one. Pitaha is a Brazilian language that can be whistled, hummed, or encoded in music. Yeah, that's the claim. And there's several other claims for this language as well. And I can tell that the person who wrote this article was not a linguist. But the whistled part is actually really interesting. And I found a sample that isn't in Pitaha, but is in another language.
Ya. Nisme. Nasma. Niño.
El mazateco chiflado nace a través de la necesidad de comunicarnos a grandes distancias. Puede ser de un cerro a otro cerro, pero para chiflar distancias largas la persona tiene que usar otro chiflido, es como decir. Es muy espontáneo para nosotros. Inclusive ahorita puedo hacer un chiflido hacia mi primo que se encuentra allá afuera. Sin verme me puede contestar.
¿Hacemos la prueba?
But yeah, that's whistled language. Pretty cool. And it's used in areas where, like, they're whistling across a ravine, where they have to communicate across vast distances. It's really cool. The other claim for Pitaha is that it has one of the smallest phoneme inventories. And that's basically the number of sounds that the language has. So I just thought I'd show you and then compare it to Australian English. Okay, so here's the phoneme inventory for Pitaha. There are 3 vowels. This is not the alphabet. These are the sounds. 3 vowels and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consonants. This consonant appears in this context. So, yeah, so there's 3 vowels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-ish consonants. That's not very big. Let's have a look at the number of consonants and vowels in Australian English. Okay, so here is Australian English phonology, and they are actually going to talk about, down here, they're going to talk about the phoneme inventory. So there is some parts there. You can have a look on Wikipedia if you want to. I'm looking on Wikipedia not because I think it's the be-all and end-all of sources, but for our purposes it's fine. Okay, so here are the monophthongs. Monophthong means one vowel. Did you know? Yeah, so one vowel is a monophthong. There are I will say it one more time, the monophthongs. And then we go down to, there's the notes, there's the diphthongs, which means 2 vowels. They're the vowels that travel like this. Then we go down to, well, there's examples of vowels. So I won't explain Mitchell and Delbridge. That will get a bit complicated. But yeah. Okay, now we get down to the consonants. So there are 44 sounds in Australian English. It looks like there's more, but there is actually 44 sounds. Plosive is basically the same thing as stop, and fortis and lentis basically have to do with tense and lax, which is, if you've been in one of my classes, you'll know that we talk about tense and lax in vowels, but not in consonants. Surprise! So that's the comparison between Australian English sounds and Pitaha sounds. Okay, so let's look at the next one. This is hilarious. Apparently, there is a language in Africa that only uses 5 distinct clicking sounds to make up the entire language. Okay, I have a bit of a problem with there is a language in Africa. Africa is a continent, not a country. Just saying. And the claim that there's a language that only uses 5 distinct clicking sounds. No, that, I don't know if you remember Skippy the bush kangaroo. It'd sound like that, and yeah, that's not how a language sounds. I don't think there are any, I'm pretty sure there are no human languages that don't have vowels in them. I mean, even Pitaha had 3. So, yeah, to say that there's only 5 distinct clicking sounds that make up the entire language is ridiculous. Yeah, so I can tell that this wasn't written by a linguist. Africa has a number of languages that just consist of click sounds. Well, there we go, we've got more than one language now. Known as Khoisan languages, clicks function as normal consonants in these languages. That's right. Clicks are distinctive sounds that are made in the mouth via a suction mechanism. Yep. This leads to a sharp popping or smacking sound where the tongue touches the roof of the mouth. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Most of these languages consist of just 4 clicking sounds. I mean, even Pitaha had a handful of consonants, more than 4. Some southern languages use a 5th click, the kiss sound. Well, that's a bilabial click. Oh, here we go. Clicks are the initial sounds in about 70% of the words that are part of the Kosan, forgive my pronunciation, Kosan vocabulary. They offer a bit of a dramatic effect during conversations. No, they don't. They're just normal part of the language. The uniqueness of these languages has given rise to speculations that maybe sounds have some kind of special meanings attached to them. But experts believe this is not the case. It's not the case. It's just a natural part of the language. And I just find it really interesting that 70% of the words have click initial sounds. So the other 30%, according to this claim here, Africa has a number of languages that just consist of click sounds, and yet 30% of the words don't start with click sounds, so there must be other sounds. Okay, so I have a video for you, just to show you what these click sounds sound like. It's pretty neat. But it is a natural part of their language.
Yeah, in Xhosa language, we have three clicking sounds, which makes this language a bit of a different Guni language, because Zulu is a bit similar to Xhosa, Swati, and Ndebele, but Xhosa has got these three clicking sounds. The first one is C, so the pronunciation of C is ta, te, ti, ko, ku.
Okay, so what's happening here is that when you see a C in their written language, that represents this particular click, and what he's doing is doing the click, the consonant, with a vowel following. So he's not doing a, e, or but he's doing something similar. So the click and then a vowel, that's why there's 5 sounds. Let's go back.
Language, because Zulu is a bit similar to Xhosa, Swati, and Ndebele, but Xhosa has got these three clicking sounds. The first one is C, so the pronunciation of C is ta, te, ti, ko, ku. Ta, te, ti, ko, ku. Can you do that? Yes, and then
like Chinese.
the second is X. The pronunciation is ta, te, ti, ko, ku. Ta, te, ti, ko, ku.
I can't do it when I'm saying it at the same time, is it?
Yeah, that's difficult.
Okay, yeah.
And then the last one is the Q. Ta, te, ti, ko, ku. Ta, te, ti, ko, ku. That you are a very excellent student. And then let me do the sentences. I'm not going to make it hard for you to repeat them, but that will be the clicking sentences. Starting with the C1. Vala ucango ucaceleng taking uthetha ngcongthenga. Ixesha lixeshile ixoko lixhalabele uxamba phaqulana. The Q1 iqaqa laqabele eqawukeni liqaqaqa mhlana qaqa igqirha lenza. So the meanings, vala ucango ucaceleng taking uthetha ngcongthenga, close the door tightly so that no air will penetrate. The X1, ixesha lixeshile ixoko lixhalabele uxamba phaqulana. The old man had an appointment with his friend. His friend did not turn up. He panicked, became very angry, and moved to another place. The Q1. A squirrel went up the top of the hill, decided to roll back to the...
Okay, so that was, they were the click sounds in Xhosa. You could hear how he pronounced it compared to how I anglicised it. Yeah, so they are a natural part of those languages, and yeah, nothing fancy, just the way it is. Okay, this is funny, but yeah, I'll explain what happened here. Okay, so Papua New Guinea has over 850 living languages. I actually asked, well, I'm going to show you a picture in a second, and I showed this picture to some friends of mine, and one of my colleagues came back and said, actually, Ethnologue, which is a big linguistic database, which I don't have access to at the moment, she said that Ethnologue has 840 languages, and I'd much rather trust Ethnologue than a clickbait article that has 10 more languages. So, yeah. But suffice to say that Papua New Guinea is one of the most linguistically diverse places in the world. This, though, is hilarious. So, let me go to this picture. So, I did a search on Google for the number of languages in PNG, and this is what came up. And so I put it on my private Facebook page and said, what's happening here? So there are 840 according to Ethnologue, and Google has at least 2, which is technically correct, but, thanks, Google. Yeah, that just floored me. How many languages are in PNG? At least 2. Okay. This got me thinking, because I'll explain why. Hebrew died as a spoken native language around 200 CE. It was later revived on the 13th of October 1881 in Paris, when a man named Eleazar ben Yehuda and his friends agreed to exclusively speak Hebrew in their conversations. That is suspiciously specific. That's not how language works. Yeah. Okay, so Eleazar ben Yehuda, again, apologies for my pronunciation, it does factor into the story, but the rest of it, okay. Yeah, so I'm going to show you a bit of a video to help explain what actually happened.
A less extreme group, led by Eliezer ben Yehuda, often considered the father of modern Hebrew, founded a Hebrew language committee to come up with new words as needed and answer questions about proper usage. Educators taught Hebrew in schools to immigrants, and in 1925, Hebrew University was established in Jerusalem.
Okay, that's better. Just deciding to speak a language to each other, that didn't ring true to me. So, okay, back to the article. Yeah, I would probably ignore the rest of this. This is a better claim. So, yeah, again, the person writing this is obviously not a linguist. Okay, this is really fascinating as well. I did know this one. I knew a few of the other ones as well, but I did know this one. I'm going to butcher this name because, yeah, Barbarum. Basically, what happens here is, well, this sound here. This starts as a n and ends in a b, so b, Barbarum. Okay, Barbarum is an extinct Australian language in which the word for dog is dog. There is no relation between these words, and this is a pure coincidence. That's true. This is R.M.W. Dixon, who's famous, well, amongst field linguists, which is pretty cool. And he described a word that, well, yeah, is dog. It points to a dog. What's this? That's a dog. Dog. That can't be. That's got to be an English loan word. No, dog. Okay, so this is the original article. Okay, so yeah, I don't have access to JSTOR at the moment, but yeah, that's where it was published, this claim. And this is actually the story. I won't go through the whole story, but it's pretty interesting. So this is from Language Hat, 2006. There's a whole setup here which I won't go through. So basically, in summary, the very few speakers of this language were quite elderly by this stage, and the linguists wanted to come in and describe the language, which is what field linguists do. And these older gentlemen said, "Well, what's the point? You know, why do you want to know a dying language?" And finally, he volunteered a word, and he said, "Do you know what we call dog? We call it dog." And I can understand, you know, my heart sank, because at that moment that would sound like an English loan word, which would mean that if that was an English loan word, how many other words were English loan words? But then he tells the rest of the story. Notice that they're not using the best spelling. There's a there. Okay, so basically what's happening here is that he's saying that in a related language, durable, again, my pronunciation is quite bad, there's a relationship there, but there was something happening in Barabam that meant that sounds were being taken off words. So stomach is baba in durable, but ba in Barabam. So you can see that they've taken off the b and the a. We too is ngali, but li in Barabam. Okay, so there's something happening there which is causing the first consonant and vowel to drop off. So when we get down to here, here we go. Through a series of sound changes, Ganaga became dog. A 1 in a million accidentally similar of form and meaning in two unrelated languages. It was because this was such an interesting coincidence that Albert Bennett had thought of it as the first word to give me. So I find that amazing. And even down here, Language Hat says, for a linguist, that kind of insight is as thrilling and beautiful as a really nice proof for a mathematician. Yeah, it is. It's really cool. Yeah. So I find that really, really interesting. Okay, next one. So you'll have seen that we've jumped a few numbers, and that's okay. People who communicate via American Sign Language can have accents just as they would in spoken language. This is true. Every sign language has accents, and you can tell, as it says here, this is true. People who use sign language have accents that vary according to their age, ethnicity, and I don't know. Yeah, okay. I don't know about this particular claim, but the first two definitely true. The speed differs. How much space is used differs. Yeah, so there can be actually regional distinct accents. Yeah, so there is a few lesser known linguistic facts, or like hot messes at times, especially this one. I hope you had a bit of fun and found some interesting things, and yeah, I'm going to finish my coffee, and yeah, I think I'll play a computer game. Have a great day.